You're listening to Do This First, a daily personal development podcast that focuses on science-backed, actionable steps towards your best year ever. Hi, I'm Sandy, your host. We're officially at the 58th day mark, 58 days before the end of 2024. We're going to continue with our Identifying Your Audience episodes, and this time around, we're going to concentrate on brand positioning. Brand positioning is essential for distinguishing a brand in a crowded market and establishing a connection with your target audience. And we lightly touched on this in our previous podcast episode. Two pivotal elements of brand positioning are the positioning statement and the positioning attributes. This deep dive podcast episode today explores these components in detail, providing guidance on crafting effective statements and identifying the right attributes to enhance brand identity and market resonance. A positioning statement is a succinct narrative that captures the essence of your brand, and it articulates its unique place in the market. It's a guiding star for brand strategy, ensuring all marketing efforts align with the core brand message. A well-crafted positioning statement should clearly convey these components. Number one, your target audience, the specific group of customers your brand aims to serve. Number two, your market definition, the category or context in which your brand operates. Number three, the unique value proposition, UVP, which we covered yesterday. It's the distinct feature or benefit that sets your brand apart from everyone else. Number four, and lastly, reasons to believe, and this is so huge, proof points or evidence that substantiate your brand's claims and enhances your credibility. Example of a positioning statement. We should probably consider at least a very well-known brand. So one of my favorite brands, Mercedes-Benz, their positioning statement is very straightforward. They say, for luxury vehicle enthusiasts, Mercedes-Benz is the premium automotive brand that embodies superior engineering and innovation because of its long-standing commitment to quality, safety, and advanced technology. Let's break this statement down. Positioning attribute. For luxury vehicle enthusiasts, that's the target audience. Mercedes-Benz is the premium automotive brand. That is their market definition. They define themselves as the premium automotive brand that embodies superior engineering and innovation. That's the unique value proposition that Mercedes gives their customers. We embody superior engineering and innovation because of its long-standing commitment to quality, safety, and advanced technology. That's the reasons to believe. You believe in the brand because they have a long-standing commitment to quality, safety, and advanced technology. Get it? Very clear, very straightforward, very succinct. Positioning attributes is something that you must consider as well, and they consist of various components that help define a brand's identity. Like the Mercedes-Benz example, they are identified as a premium automotive brand that defines them. So some of those attributes, some of the positioning attributes that you should make sure that you cover. And this won't be relevant, like each positioning attribute will not be relevant to each brand. It really depends on the types of products and services that you're rendering. But for the most part, performance, how well the product or service meets its intended function, including reliability, efficiency, and effectiveness. Let's say that you're a furniture manufacturer. You make custom furniture made out of wood. If a person buys a custom wooden desk from you, and when they receive it, it's really plywood or this prefabricated mush, then there's not going to be a lot of credibility with your positioning statement because it's not really made out of wood. See what I mean? Because it's not really made out of wood and it's not performing like something that's made out of solid wood. The quality ties into the previous example that I provided. The standard of the product or services in terms of materials, craftsmanship, and overall value. Usability, the ease with which customers can use the product or service, including user friendliness and intuitiveness. That's a huge thing. User friendliness, going with my wooden table analogy because it's just so straightforward. If I buy a wooden table and I put a flower pot on it and it collapses, that's not going to bode too well. That ties into usability. And then there are the emotional attributes. The feelings, the emotions the brand evokes in consumers, such as happiness, security, or nostalgia. I mean, there's so many emotions and feelings. What do you feel when you think of Mercedes? You know, it makes you feel safe, right? Makes you feel safe, makes you feel comfortable. The awesome Bose sound system, you know, the wooden veneer, if you have the wooden veneer interior, you know, there are a lot of things that just make you feel good. How does your brand make others feel, right? So and what are the emotions that you want people to feel when they buy your products or services? So there it is. Your brand story, that's part of the emotional attribute of your brand. The narrative that surrounds the brand, including its history, its mission, its values, that can create an emotional connection with consumers. It's all about the story. They want to know what the story is. Why are you making this product? Why are you providing these services? Why do you do what you do? Identity, the lifestyle that consumers want to associate with, often ties to the status and sophistication or specific values of your brand. I'll go back to Mercedes. I'm sorry, I'm like an advocate for Mercedes, but it denotes success, you know, and comfort and reliability. What does your brand denote? When people patronage your products, your services, your website, what is the identity that they're associated with if they were to link up with you? You know, and support you, you know, so that's something you really need to think about. What is the identity that you want people to subscribe to? The other attributes that we can look at is the symbolic attributes. So symbolic, the brand image, the perception that consumers have of the brand, including its reputation, its prestige, and associations in the market. What are you linked with? Are you linked with affluence? Are you linked with happiness? Are you linked with spirituality, you know, connecting with God? Are you linked with durability, with superior product? Going back to like, you know, custom furniture manufacturer. Are you creating custom, one-of-a-kind, sturdy and reliable furniture or products? So really think about your brand image. The cultural associations. This might not apply to everyone. So the cultural, social, or historical notions linked to your brand, which can enhance its significance in certain audiences. Again, this doesn't apply to everyone. It really depends what your brand is. How about the visual identity? Elements like logos, colors, your packaging, they can all create a recognizable brand image and contribute to its symbolism. There are lots of brands that really put a lot into their packaging. Anytime you order something from them, you get the same type of package and you know it's them. Well, Amazon is a good example. That arrow that looks like a smile, right? And that shows you how simple something can be, because that is just such a simple logo, but it works. How about experiential attributes? The customer experience, the overall consumer experience when they interact with your brand across various touch points. So sales, customer service, social media, you know, at a live event, if you do live events, and so on and so forth. What is the customer experience? There's a brand, I'm not going to name the names, but I won't go to any of their events because for some reason, there's always some type of altercation that happens when they sponsor an event or they are, you know, the event. And so it really makes you leery. It's kind of like, oh, I don't think so. So what is the customer experience that you're facilitating, that you're providing? Engagement, the level of interaction and connection the brand has with consumers, which can include personalized services or community involvement. How about the multi-sensory experience? How the product or service engages on multiple senses, like the sights, the sounds, the taste, the touch. Again, all these things don't necessarily link up with your brand depending on what the brand is, obviously. All these things, though, I will say, especially the multi-sensory experience, can create a memorable experience for your audience. And then things like the pricing strategy, your approach to pricing, whether it's premium, competitive, discount, or value-based, all that influences consumer perception of your brand as well. And then the perceived value, how consumers perceive the value that they receive versus the price paid, which can affect their overall satisfaction and loyalty. These components work together to shape a brand's positioning by providing consumers with a comprehensive understanding of what the brand stands for, the value it offers, and how it differentiates itself in the marketplace. Identifying and effectively communicating these attributes enables brands to connect meaningfully with their target audience. Tomorrow, we'll take a closer look at Mercedes-Benz and one other brand that I absolutely love, and we'll see their target audience and how they've mastered positioning in their market and beyond. And as promised, I do want to tackle several questions actually that were submitted, have to do with these past podcast episodes. But in looking at these questions, they all seem to have same focus, which is about expanding your audience, all from different angles. So I'm going to pick one. So Mark from Roswell, Georgia. And his question is, I have a moderately successful product. Will want to expand my audience. How can I do that without losing my loyal customers? And I've gotten multiple questions that it's a different case scenario, but it has to do with expanding audiences. So I'm going to answer that particular question, how to expand your audience. So there are several solid ways that you can approach expanding your audience. And one of the ways is to tweak your messaging so that it resonates with other demographics. Since you've been listening to the podcast episodes, you know how to conduct research and how to segment your audience. So you should have a good idea what your target audiences are and what appeals to them. So tweaking your message to appeal to one of the segments can be extremely helpful in expanding your audience. Another solid way of expanding your reach, and I see lots of people doing this, is by offering bundles, offering discounts, and time-sensitive promotions. Another solid way of extending your reach is to provide a freemium. Of course, that only works if you have a digital product and or a subscription-based product or service. And if you don't, you should look into having a subscription-based service. I have it, and it works very, very well. You can iterate new versions of your product. The versions are geared towards a particular segment of your audience that you're trying to expand. So you can tailor that new iteration of a pre-existing product to specific segments in your audience. You can also offer a stripped down version of your product for a substantially decreased price or even free. Another way of expanding your product's reach and expanding your audience is through social media campaigns, which are not free, but can be less expensive than Google's pay-per-click campaigns. Blogging can be hugely impactful, which I do all the time. I have so many blogs that you just wouldn't believe. But I love writing. So blogging can bring awareness to your brand, which is what I do. I actually do it for other companies as well. By nature, I'm a writer and I really enjoy writing all of my blogs. It's just something I love researching. I'm a curious person. I love finding out about things. And that's why I have these podcasts that I do, because I like to share information, researched information. But if you're not a writer, lots of people approach writing like public speaking, they hate it. Two things that I absolutely love. So if you're one of those people, that's okay. So there's a platform called Fiverr. It's Fivr. And you can find a freelancer there that can write your blog for you. And also across social media, just put in writer. There is such a robust writing community, like on Twitter and on Instagram and on Blue Sky. I mean, all you have to do is put in freelance writer and you'll find writers that'll be more than happy to write your blogs for you. But one tip I will give to you is be very specific, because if you're not, then you might not like the result. And if you're concerned, then going back to Mark from Roswell, if you're concerned with losing your core audience, you should create products that are specific to the different segments in your audience. Changing a beloved product because you're wanting to expand your audience can be detrimental. One such case that I read about happened back in 1985. Coca-Cola introduced New Coke, a reformulation of the original beloved Coca-Cola recipe. The change was intended to make the drink sweeter and more desirable to younger consumers. However, the new formula was met with widespread public disapproval, as loyal Coca-Cola fans strongly preferred the original taste and were very vocal about it. The backlash was intense, with consumers expressing their anger and disappointment through protests, believe it or not, and by vocalizing their resistance. In response to the negativity and declining sales, Coca-Cola reintroduced the original formula of Coca-Cola Classic just 3 months later, effectively reverting to its previous iteration and restoring consumer trust and loyalty. So that's something to keep in mind. Just make your new products or new iterations for particular segments. Do not change a product that's doing very, very well, because that, again, might be detrimental. On a side note, the podcast notes are usually on my blog, but my hosting company is having some back-end issues. Therefore, moving forward, I'm including the transcript of the podcast episode in the notes section of the podcast. You can access it by going to the description area wherever you're listening to this podcast episode. But you can also go to my blog, dothisfirst.life, find the podcast episode, and then click notes on the bottom right-hand side of the player, and you'll see all the notes there. Tomorrow, we're going to take a deeper look at brand positioning and brand positioning attributes through the lens of Mercedes-Benz and another beloved brand that I care about so much, so that you can see how they've masterfully done so well by hitting all the points that we discussed in this podcast episode. If you like what you're hearing, don't forget to leave a review. You can also read a full transcript of this podcast episode in the notes section of this podcast episode. You can do that on wherever you're listening, or you can go onto my website. And while you're there, you can listen to all of my podcast episodes. You can also listen to most of my podcast episodes on YouTube, and my handle there is at Do This First. Tomorrow we'll continue with our micro series, Finish Strong. And we're focusing on building out your audience and building up your brand so that you can finish strong. Till tomorrow.
Moving past the rain, moving past the pain, or past the color blue. I see power in you. Has welded it down. Look around, they can't be found. I see a champion in you. I see a champion